Hi and welcome to the next video of the series. So now we are setting up our Angular front end, and why we are doing this is because till now we were just developing the backend with nest.js, and so the next videos and this one here will just be about Angular and setting up the front end. So backend and front end will be on the same page or on the same status at the end, and then we can go on with implementing a new feature in a video and do this on the backend and on the front end. So in this video we will set up the Angular project, we will create an admin module and a login and register page and some basic routing. So that very simple, so just for setting up and verify that everything is working. And so we also want to verify that our connection from our front end to the backend is working. We will do this just faking a login and to go against our endpoint. And then we have our video structure. As always, we will have a look at the video outcome at first, then write a user story for it and implement the user story and close it afterwards. And at the end, we will have a short look at what might be coming in the next videos. Yeah, so let's take a quick look at what we are building in this video. You can see we have some components. We have our own module admin. We can switch between these with navigating here in our service. So we can switch between this. And you see we now in admin or in login, and if we hit this button, then we go against our out service and log in with some defined properties. So we will switch this in the next video to a real login page. And if we hit this, you can see we are getting a token from our backend, and so you can see we made our connection. And if we use this, we can paste this in jwt-io. And we see that this has all our payload that we specified. So you see what is my name, my username, my email, my role, when it's issued and when is it expired. Welcome back to video 6. This time we are setting up our front end. So we set it up with Angular as specified here. And why are we doing this now? Because till now we were just working on our backend with nest.js. And now we want to get them on the same page or on the same status, so the front end and the back end, so that we can later work in parallel, so we can handle, when we have done all this here in the backlog for implementing all the stuff that we already have on the back end, then we can later procedure with adding, for example, the block service or adding a block entry, and we can do this in one video on the back end, on the front end. And so this is just setting now the basics, so we can do this later. And so we have here our story. We want to set up our Angular project, and as a user I want to be able to navigate between login, register, and if I have the role editor or admin, to the admin page, so I can later register and log in and start using the service. So this means the real logic for registering and login is coming in the next video. And as a technical lead, I want to be front end to be set up as a single page application, so with Angular. So the acceptance criteria are, it should be set up with Angular. We want to have a module for our admin stuff, so we can use lazy loading, so it's not loading at the beginning, because with this a single page application, if you go to the URL, you are downloading the whole app. But with lazy loading, you will just you will download it in pieces. So if, for example, if you hit then the admin route, then the admin module is just being loaded. And if you hit the normal route, it's just a normal module. Then we want to add basic routing, and we have our components or pages, login and register, but not designed, but just that you can navigate between them. Then we want to paginate, no, this is not here. And we want to check if our connection to the backend is working. For example, we use our proxy.conf, or we make one to check if we can hit actually the endpoints from our nest.js backend, and we just use the button to click, and then we submit email and password and check if we are getting a JWT back. So we can move this to doing, and just that you know, this video will be coming in mid of the week, and 1 or 2 days later I will set up this here, because normally we had all this videos coming 1 week apart from each other, but these are very strong together, so they will be only 1 or 2 days apart. So let's start with coding. So you see we are here on our blog and we are on our branch develop. So we can say git-flow feature start V-06. And then we switch to our feature branch, to our new one, and we are based on develop as always. So we can clear this up. And what we want now is we have our folder API in our Postman folder where our requests are stored. And we want now to add our Angular stuff. So we use for this the Angular CLI, and we can go Angular or Google Angular, and then you come to the Angular IO page, and we want to get started. And you can see first we have to install Angular globally. I already have it, so we can check this with ng --version. Which version do I have? So I have version 9.1.3. And let's look it up. npm Angular, what version is the actual? So it's 9.1.7. So we can install it, and you can do this, or we can update it, and you can do it like npm install minus globally, so for your not for this repository but for your computer, add Angular, and then it should be CLI. So now we have to wait a bit, and I can explain a few things in this time. So what we will do next, this is updated, we will create our new workspace, and this will be here, and we will have our front-end folder here. So it's done, so we can now check the version. Now we are on 9.1.7, and we are in our blog folder here, and we can say ng new front-end. So you can check this here, because we are adding the front-end to our blog project. So we want to add Angular routing, yes. I want to use SCSS, so we can work with variables and everything. We can look at this later. And now it's installing all our packages. If we have done this, we can just cd into the folder and make ng stuff. If we use --open, then it will automatically launch our basic browser. That's Windows 10. Or we can go with ng serve and just open localhost 4200. And then we should see this starting page where you have some basic comments, but you can delete this later. So let's look this up. Now it's installing all our packages, and you can already see the folder is created. Now it's installing all the node modules. And we have here our Angular.json that is explaining how this should be built. So for example, if we go for ng serve, then you see we have a builder, what is the target, what are we doing, and so on. So for example, we can go for production or for a dev. So let's wait. So now we see our directory is already under version control, so we skip the installation of Git. And we can see here now everything is here, and we can just cd into our folder, front end, and then call ng serve. And now you will see that since Angular 9 it's all compiling to ESM 2015. Just give it a, here's to see. It's compiling, and then we can go to our local host 4200, and we have to wait a bit till everything is compiled and started. And what we can already do is we can make a second shell for us, and when we go into our front end and we want later to add Angular Material, you can have a look at this while this is installing. And this is like the UI component library that's good, that's from the same creators as Angular, and so it's very good working and it's very good integrated. You can think of it like Bootstrap for Angular, for example. So now we can look live, and we can split this probably up. So you can see now we are on localhost 4200. we can reload this page, and then we are seeing the basic Angular page. And what we want to do is, we have here like a basic documentation. If we want to add a new component, we can use this command. If we want to add Angular Material, what we want, we can use this. And so we can do this in our second shell and install Angular Material. And then we can see what can we do else. We can add PWA support, add dependencies, run tests, build for production. So with --prod you can specify this. But actually we just want to delete this whole page, because we want now to start with our front end. And so you see, this is the basic page that we were seeing, so we can delete this completely. And now you saw it's compiled again. So every time you save and there are changes, then it's compiling again. And so here we have now some questions from Angular Material. We want to use a basic thing, and we want to add typography from Angular Material, and browser animations set up, so we do everything with yes, and then we can just wait. And in this meantime, we can, what we want to have is like a basic menu like at the top, so that we can later switch easily between login and register component. And we can see here we are in navigation, and this is the toolbar at the top. And for this we will need importing our Mat Toolbar module, also Material Toolbar module in our app.module. So we can go for this here and import our Mat Toolbar module. You see, now it has to compile all the stuff from Angular Material, so it will need some time. We can already look at here some example and probably just use them. So we can go to StackBlitz, which is great for your Angular examples. If you want to look something up, you can just go here into the code and look at it. And you see they have a multi-toolbar row example here. And we can just here copy this a bit. And you see now it's starting their dev server, and it should compile soon. Let's wait and look what we're actually doing. But we can see it also here. This is what we will do. So we can just go into our app component, copy this in, and we don't want multiple rows, so we can remove this. And what else do we need? We need the CSS for it. And you can see always in Angular, one component has like 3 or 4 files. So we have our HTML file, we have our CSS or SCSS file here, we have our view logic in our component, and you can see here it says how can we select this in our app. So we can, for example, make in our HTML, for example, we could do this like this stuff, and then we would display this component. Then we have our template URL. So to this app component, what is the template URL? So it's our app component HTML and our CSS, and we have also a spec file for writing our unit tests later. So here it now says it can't find our Mat Toolbar module, and we can look it up. We don't want to have example icons or something like this. We just want to have our login register page or link to it, and we want to have our admin to go to our admin page. So we can go to our second PowerShell here. So we can just move this to the right. One moment. Now I want to share them. Whatever. So this is compiling, and we switch to our second shell. And here we go into our front end. And now we can use our CLI to generate a new module for us, and we can say ng for Angular generate module. And now we say we want to have our admin module. And so, actually we want to have it with routing, so we can just specify it as an option. So it's routing. So you can now see we have created our admin module, and we have our routing module, which is imported here into our admin module. And you see here we have our router module for child with routes, and in our app.module we have our routing module here, and this is for root. So this is important for later. Then we want to ng generate a component, and this should be in our admin, and there we will have a folder components, and this should be called overview. So we have an overview component, our admin component, where we can switch between who is displaying it. So for example, if just an editor is displaying the admin module or the overview component, then it should display something else than for our complete admin who is able to, for example, switch roles of the user. So now you can see it already created a new folder components, and there we have our overview component, which exists out of exactly the same for files, HTML, CSS, TS, and the spec file. So we can use this later. And then we also want to generate a component login and register. So, or login. And let's go with register, so let's make two components out of it. And it's not getting too complicated, so we can switch this. Make another ref to register. So now we have here a folder for our components, and we need in our router module to specify some routes. So the first thing is that we want to have our admin module being lazy loaded, and therefore we can say we go to our admin route, and now what we do is we don't say component, but we say, let's see, load children, and then we go for function, and we import from our admin the admin module. Then we go .then and we export our admin module, or import it. So we don't need this. So now if we go to our admin route, we will load or lazy load this module. And for this to work, we need here a new route, which has a path of basically nothing, where we want to display our overview component. So this component is our overview component. And because we don't have specified anything here, we need I think match, is it? How is it called? Path match, and we want a full match. So we don't need this if we have something specified here. And then we should load this. And yeah, let's just check it out. Let's see if everything is running fine. So we have it here. And now we can go on our admin component here. For our admin, we go for router link in Angular. And we go for admin, or /admin, I think. And then we can see if we are here. There we are on our local host, there is nothing. Just reload this. And if I go to our admin page, so it does not look pretty, but we can fix this later. Then you see we are switching the route to our admin page. But we are not displaying anything, so let's see what is going wrong. Yeah, so we also need to display our router outlet, so where our router is, or our router where we are going is rendered in. So for this we need our router outlet, and now we should be able to see our overview works, so which is in the admin module, and to make it a little bit clearer we can say admin overview works. And you see we are here in our admin route and we see it works. So if we navigate back, we have nothing because we are on our base path or our base route. So now we can do this also for login. And here we can specify this route also in our routing module. And then we go for a path login, and the component is just the login component. And the same is going with register. So we go for register. And the component is our register component. So the second thing that we wanted to do, we can just check it up, was to have basic components, and then we want to check if our connection to the backend is working. So for this we can test our login route or our login API. And as you remember, we can go with another PowerShell or another shell, go into our API and run it. And now we have to wait a bit till it's started. And then we can check this with Postman if it's still working. So let's give it a moment. So if we now hit send, you see we get a returned an access token, and this we can just fake in this with our users. So we go back to our shell in the front end and we say ng generate service, and we go into our services folder that we want to have created. And let's say it's our authentication service, authentication service. So now you see we have created a new service, this one here. And what we need here is we need our HTTP client, this is from Angular, to hit some APIs. Well, let's see why it is not importing. HTTP client from Angular common HTTP, I think. Yeah, and so we also need to import this in our module. So we need to import the HTTP client module here. And now we will have one method that's just called login. And we need there an email and a password. And this is both of type string. And here we can say return this.http. Now we are making a post request. You can say what we are making here. So this is a post request to this route. You can copy this route already. And we can just say first it's any. So we are just checking if we are hitting our endpoint. And now we need what we are passing in, and so this is the email and the password. And then we can pipe the outcome, so to check and just map it. And I think we don't have installed AXJS here. Yeah, so we can go npm install -- save AXJS, I think. Let's look it up. Yeah. So let's install this. So we can use this, and this should be, we will get returned a token. And then we want to store this token in our local storage. And this we can just use with set item. And we can go with block token, so we can think about how we call it later. And here we want to access our token, and you see here this is the property, so we add this, and then we just return the token. So now I think we can import map, so we go for import map from AXJS operators, and let's see if everything is fine here. And now we can check this in our login component if we actually hit our login endpoint. So we can go here, for example, for a button, and just say in Angular it's a click, and then we want to execute a method. Let's say we call it login. Needed. But I think there are still some errors. So basically, if we hit our login button, then we want to go against our login endpoint on our server. So now I'm back. So the solution was just to delete the whole node modules folder and run npm install again. So we will see this is working now. And now we want to hit our login endpoint, our backend, or we want to hit our login route from the backend, and check if we can make the connection between the frontend and the backend and what we have to adjust probably. So here we want to need our authentication service. So we say private out service authentication service and use this, and then we go for this.outService.login, and you see it's want our email and password, and so we can just go for, I think this was the password and our user is this. So we can just type this in now, and in the next video we will make it completely the new form in our HTML that we are passing here, and then we can pipe this, and we can just we can just subscribe to it, because we're not doing anything right now. And here we get some data, and we can say just console log, let's say success. So you see it's compiling. Then we go to our front end, and we go to our, we need our login route here again. So we can do this the same as with our admin route. We go for router link, and we go for login. And now you see we can click it. We go to our login page. This is our button. Here it's a little bit too small, but you see if we hit it, it says unknown error, failure response. So let's see if our backend is running. We see it's here, but the thing is, it could be a cause error. So we try to hit our endpoint here in our authentication service, localhost 3000 users login. We can just verify that this is working. So if we hit it here, we get a response. So let's see, are we getting here? Or not? And I don't think so. And you see we have a cross origin error, and so we need to add a proxy.conf to our Angular. So we can do this in our source folder. Then we add a new file, and we call it proxy.conf.json, because we need some stuff. So we make an object out of it. And then we say for everything that goes to our API route, we go against target, And this is our HTTP, not this, our HTTP local host on port 3000. And this is not secure, so we have to set secure to false. False. So if we hit now an API route, we will go against localhost 3000. And so we have to change in our authentication service, we have to make it against API. And since we now won't get hit the route, we have to add this prefix to all our nest.js prefix API. We have to add this to our backend, so that all our routes in backend listen to API. So we can set a global prefix in our main TS. So we go to our API, go into our source folder and add this here. And we don't call it version 1, but we call it API. And now we can see if it's compiled. If we hit this, we will get an error. But if we go against API, this should work. So we get an access token in return. And now we can have to add our proxy.conf that we made here. Where is it? Oops, in our there. We had to add this into our Angular. And for this we can just go with the proxy config, and where this is lying, and this is lying in source, and then proxy.conf.json. And here we need a comma to separate it, and then we can see if it's running again, we can go against, try it again. So I think we have to rebuild it for it to work. And just then fix it. So where is our login page? Can just give it a little style. So our button is let's give it a width. Just that's easier to see and to hit. So if we unlock in, we have here our button. We can just hit it and we get an error again. Error missing. Yeah, so we can, I think, delete this. Because if we go against API, then it should add. So if we hit it, you see now we don't get the error again. And we can just look on our web local storage if we set here. So we have our block token. So this worked, and now we have to look why we are not logging it here. So if we hit this route, normally it should go to the console. So yeah, you see now it's logging token and success, so it's need a bit of time. And this is working, and then it saves our block token to our local storage. So now we can see we have here we have made our connection to the backend, and in the next video we will make a real login page, a real register page, and then in the next videos we will secure everything of this, and we will do the login and the register with nginx. So let's close this video so we can just commit some changes that we did. So we shut down all our services. We are here, so we make git add -a. We commit all our changes. Now we are in video 6. And we added Angular Frontend with basic routing and an AdminModule. Also tested connection to the backend, so against our login route. So we can push this. So we don't have set our upstream branch right now. We make this, and then I will later finish it to develop because this video is just released in a few days, so I will do this later. And we can check against our stories. So what we did was we set it up with Angular. This is done. We have module for admin also done. We have some basic rounding between login and register, or login and admin, so just to verify that everything is correct. We have our basic components, login, register, that we will use to expand in the next videos. And we have checked our connection to the backend, so we use the proxy.conf. So this is all done, and we can move this to done. So let's have a quick look what we will do in the next video. There we will just finish our login and register component, so we will implement the real components and the real logic to it. And then we will save our logged in user in our NGRX store. So this is for handling the store or state management in the front end.